What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Talk. Today, let's get started with Arman Tsarukyan recently shared his honest assessment of Paddy Pimblett's chances against UFC featherweight champion Ilia Topuria, and he did not hold back. According to Tsarukyan, there is simply no scenario where Paddy could defeat a fighter of Topuria's caliber. When asked directly whether he believed Pimblett had anything to offer Ilia, Tsarukyan responded with complete certainty, "No way." He elaborated on this by highlighting the enormous gap in skill, experience, and overall competitive level between Topuria and Pimblett. Tsarukyan pointed out that Topuria has proven himself against elite opponents and has demonstrated a level of precision, power, and composure that very few fighters in the division can match. As an example, he referenced Topuria's dominant performance against Michael Chandler, a fighter known for his toughness and explosive style. While acknowledging Chandler's accomplishments, Tsarukyan also emphasized context. Chandler is approaching 40 years of age, has accumulated several losses, and is not the same athlete he once was. Even so, Tsarukyan stressed that beating someone like Chandler does not automatically place Pimblett on the elite tier. Arman explained that the UFC has clear levels, and fighters who consistently compete at the highest level, such as Topuria, Charles Oliveira, Dan Hooker, Max Holloway, and Tsarukyan himself, operate in a completely different realm. In Tsarukyan's view, Paddy Pimblett has not yet proven that he can compete with any of those high-level athletes. He went as far as saying that Pimblett would struggle against many established contenders. He wouldn't beat Oliveira, he wouldn't beat Hooker, he wouldn't beat Holloway, and he wouldn't beat Tsarukyan. Arman stated plainly that if Paddy could even defeat a fighter like Justin Gaethje, then he would be ready to admit that Pimblett is truly legitimate, but as of now, he sees no evidence of that. Tsarukyan finished by reiterating his overall stance. He does not believe Paddy Pimblett is a particularly strong fighter at this stage of his career. In fact, he summarized his thoughts bluntly, stating that in terms of elite competition, Pimblett simply sucks compared to the top names in the division. Before we jump into the next story, we have a small favor to ask. If you're enjoying the content, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell icon. It really helps us out, and ensures you'll never miss an update. Move on to another news. Mike Perry has voiced his frustration after receiving a staggering tax bill reportedly exceeding $800,000, and he hasn't held back about how blindsided he feels by the situation. Taking to X, Perry shared an image of the notice and expressed his disbelief, calling it the biggest robbery in sports. According to him, the amount he owes makes it seem as if he is far wealthier than the reality reflects. In his post, Perry explained that everything involving his finances was supposed to be fully organized by his tax team in Miami. However, as he put it, a ball was dropped regarding the management of his assets. Perry emphasized the sacrifice and effort behind his earnings, years of training, absorbing punishment inside the cage, shedding blood, and suggested that despite all of that, it felt like the country was taking credit for his work. A user on X responded, suggesting the document Perry posted looked like a notice from the IRS regarding unpaid taxes. Perry quickly clarified that he is fully up to date on his previous obligations and insisted that the amount shown was exclusively for 2024. He dismissed attempts to mock him, noting that the IRS itself was already making him feel embarrassed enough. When another commenter asked how many years the bill covered, along with how much he earned and saved, Perry replied that the tax hit was for just 1 year. He stated that he had saved a little over $1 million, but the 37% federal tax rate alone accounted for roughly $629,000, which already seemed excessive to him. Perry added that something about the numbers felt off. Expressing exhaustion with the system, Perry went as far as suggesting he might retire, joking that he originally pursued fighting so he could go camping in the woods and enjoy a peaceful life. Instead, he feels targeted. In his words, it seemed as if the government was saying, "Oh, you thought you were rich? Give us everything you have." Perry even recounted a conversation with his accountant, who claimed they had only just noticed the income from his bout with Jake Paul. Perry was stunned, asking how something that significant could have been overlooked. Feeling betrayed, he said he now owes everything because of their mistake. In a moment of frustration, Perry admitted he's contemplating drastic choices: selling his belongings, withdrawing all his money, hiding it, living off the grid, or even accepting a short prison sentence. Anything to escape what he feels is an overwhelming and unfair financial burden. Move on to another news. Tony Ferguson recently made headlines after confidently stating that, during his prime, he believes he would have beaten Islam Makhachev. In a conversation conversation with Helen Yee, Ferguson reflected on how he viewed both Makhachev and Khabib Nurmagomedov throughout their rise, and why he remains convinced that a prime version of himself would have been too much for Islam to handle. According to Ferguson, Islam was always an extremely talented and disciplined athlete, but in the early years, he seemed to operate in the shadow of Khabib. Tony compared their dynamic to the relationship between Aljamain Sterling and Merab Dvalishvili, where one fighter shines only after the other steps aside. In his view, Khabib's presence, and especially the influence of Khabib's late father and coach Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, may have kept Islam from surpassing Khabib out of sheer respect for his mentor and teammate. Ferguson acknowledged Makhachev's evolution, saying that once Khabib retired and stepped away from fighting, Islam finally had the opportunity to flourish on his own. Now, he recognizes Islam as an elite, fully developed athlete who carved out his own championship path. Still, Ferguson remains firm in his belief that the best version of El Kukai would have beaten him. He stated bluntly that in his prime, he would have kicked Islam's ass. Tony also expressed pride in the training philosophy of his own academy, saying that 1 or 2 years under his system would prepare a fighter to outperform Dagestani wrestlers, known globally for their dominance. He emphasized that fighters at the highest level are all trying to evolve, surpass one another, and eventually pass that knowledge down to the next generation. Ferguson went on to discuss the two fights he still finds meaningful, Conor McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov. He believes either matchup, no matter the stage of his career, would draw huge attention and deliver pure entertainment. According to Tony, placing him and Khabib together again, even at a venue like the White House, would guarantee fireworks. He even jokingly referred to it as Khabib versus Tony, round 6, suggesting unfinished business between them and expressing interest in finally giving fans a showdown that was scheduled multiple times but never materialized. Move on to another news. Following his recent submission loss to Arman Tsarukyan, Dan Hooker appears eager to get back into the octagon, and he already has an opponent in mind. Hooker and Renato Moicano have both expressed interest in facing each other next, sparking excitement among fans who see the matchup as an entertaining clash of styles and personalities. In a post-fight update, Hooker explained that he was taken to the hospital shortly after the bout but ultimately received good news. After undergoing scans, doctors told him everything looked fine. When someone mentioned that his nose had been broken, Hooker joked that the damage came from the weigh-ins rather than the actual fight. He held no excuses about the loss, acknowledging that he took a big swing at one of the best fighters in the world. "He's good. What do you want me to say?" Hooker admitted. "Swing big, miss big. It is what it is." Hooker also revealed a humorous interaction with UFC executive Hunter Campbell. Campbell called to check on him, asking, "Are you all right, Dan?" Hooker said he answered with a straight face, "Renato Moicano sucks." Hooker explained that he immediately pitched the idea of fighting Moicano next, saying, "Let me give Moicano a hiding. Let's have an old man fight." He added that he wasn't interested in holding up the division and was prepared to fight someone lower in the rankings. Not only does Hooker want the matchup, but he also has a preferred location. He said he would love the UFC to schedule the bout on the upcoming card in Sydney this February. According to Hooker, Moicano is a fun, stylistic matchup, one that would produce both entertaining banter and an exciting fight. Hooker joked about their recent losses, saying, "We both suck. We both got cooked. Islam cooked him, Arman cooked me. We'll have a cook-off." Renato Moicano quickly responded on X, accepting the challenge with confidence and simplicity. His message to Hooker was brief but bold: "Dan Hooker, easy money." With both fighters openly calling for the matchup and fans expressing interest, the potential Hooker versus Moicano fight is gaining momentum, and could become one of the most entertaining lightweight clashes on the horizon. Move on to another news. Arman Tsarukyan has just ignited the MMA world with a major revelation during his appearance on Daniel Cormier's show. The lightweight contender claims that Ilia Topuria personally confirmed their championship showdown, something fans have been eagerly speculating about for weeks. This follows the viral backstage clip posted by Topuria a few days earlier. In the footage, Ilia approaches Arman, places a hand on his neck in a seemingly playful yet subtly confrontational gesture, and exchanges a few words. The moment was widely interpreted as Topuria asserting dominance. Later, Ilia took to social media to frame the interaction in his favor, claiming that Arman only talks tough online but stayed quiet when they met face to face. However, Tsarukyan has now completely flipped that narrative. Speaking to Cormier, he revealed the true conversation that took place. According to Arman, Arman, Topuria greeted him respectfully, saying, "Brother, how are you? This is just media stuff, nothing serious." But what came next is the part that shocked fans. Ilia allegedly told him directly that their fight is next and that he would be defending his UFC lightweight title against Tsarukyan as his first 155-pound title defense following his knockout victory over Charles Oliveira. Once Arman shared this, everything began to make sense. The UFC has been mysteriously quiet about Topuria's next move for weeks, leading to speculation and confusion. Now, Tsarukyan's dominant performance at UFC Qatar, where he dismantled Dan Hooker and delivered a clear statement, appears to have been the final piece the matchmakers needed. With Arman rising as the undeniable top contender, the timing aligns perfectly. According to what Topuria told Tsarukyan backstage, and based on internal conversations within the UFC, the lightweight title fight is already confirmed. The two are reportedly expected to clash in February 2026, headlining one of Paramount's first major UFC events. This timeline matches the organization's recent scheduling pattern and adds further credibility to Arman's claims. DC reacted with excitement, telling Arman that this is exactly the matchup fans have been demanding. Tsarukyan echoed that sentiment, saying that he's thrilled the fight is finally becoming reality. As he put it, "Yes, finally." If true, the announcement sets the stage for one of the most anticipated lightweight title fights in years. Move on to another news. A heated social media feud erupted between Conor McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov after controversy surrounding Khabib's recent promotion of digital papahas, NFT-style collectibles based on the traditional Dagestani hat. According to reports, Khabib generated several $million in sales within a single day before abruptly deleting all related posts across his platforms, except on Telegram. The sudden disappearance of the promotional material sparked speculation online, with some suggesting the project may have been misleading or exploitative. McGregor seized on that speculation, accusing Khabib of using both his late father's legacy and Dagestani culture to sell overpriced digital items, only to erase the marketing once purchases were completed. Conor reposted claims alleging Khabib earned roughly 350 million rubles, about $4.4 million, from the launch. He wrote that it was a shame and a stain on his father's name, calling the situation father's plan becoming father's scam. McGregor contrasted this with Islam Makhachev honoring his father after becoming a double world champion, saying that was an example of integrity. Khabib fired back strongly. He called McGregor a liar who has tried to tarnish his name ever since their fight. He defended the digital papaha project, insisting it was not a scam but a cultural tribute designed as a digital collectible with symbolic value. He said the papaha represents respect, discipline, and tradition, principles taught to him by his father and deeply rooted in Dagestani identity. He highlighted that the collectibles were available exclusively on Telegram and framed them as meaningful, shareable gifts. To reinforce his message, Khabib released a video explaining the cultural significance of the papaha. He described it as a symbol worn by generations in his village, reminding young men that strength comes from heritage, not just physical power. He said the digital version allowed anyone, anywhere in the world, to participate in that cultural exchange. McGregor escalated again, demanding that Khabib apologize for using his father's name to sell items, and mocking the idea of calling something a gift when it is sold for money. Khabib responded one more time, posting a photo referencing his rehabilitation centers in Dagestan and mentioning the dozens of former addicts he has helped. He invited McGregor to visit, implying he could use similar support, adding, "Mexico didn't help you as far as I can see." The exchange marks yet another chapter in the unresolved rivalry between the former lightweight champion and the Irish superstar, proving that years after their fight, tensions remain as explosive as ever. Move on to another news. Lerone Murphy has recently hinted that he may temporarily move up to the lightweight division, and the idea has sparked immediate reactions from analysts Michael Bisping and Paul Felder. Both former fighters strongly believe that such a move would be a major mistake for Murphy at this stage of his career. According to them, Murphy has spent years steadily climbing the featherweight ladder, putting in the work, staying active, and finally positioning himself as a legitimate title contender. His name is now consistently mentioned among the top athletes at 145 pounds, and he is considered one of the frontrunners for a future shot at Alexander Volkanovski. For Bisping and Felder, stepping away from the division now, especially for a one-off fight at lightweight, would risk halting all the momentum he has built. Meanwhile, the featherweight division itself is moving in unpredictable directions. Diego Lopes continues to raise his stock and has already expressed his desire to stay active. He told MMA Junkie that he wants one more fight before the end of the year to keep himself sharp for a potential rematch with Volkanovski. Volkanovski, for his part, praised Lopes' wild performance against Silva but doesn't seem entirely locked into that matchup, instead evaluating the entire contender landscape. Then there is Movsar Evloev, undefeated and viewed by many fans as the rightful #1 contender. However, he has been inactive for almost 11 months, leading to growing frustration among fans who are beginning to lump him in with other inactive ranked fighters. Some have even called for the UFC to remove fighters from the rankings if they continue sitting out without booking a fight. Despite the inactivity, many still believe Evloev deserves a title shot before Murphy or even Yair Rodriguez. Back in May, Evloev teased a potential non-title fight after Volkanovski pushed for a matchup, but no bout has materialized. At the moment, early 2026 appears to be the realistic window for significant movement in the division. With all this uncertainty, Murphy's frustration is understandable. He has publicly called the featherweight division too stagnant, saying he wants to fight in December but has not been offered anything. While he is considering a move to 155 pounds simply to stay active, Bisping and Felder argue that the smarter path is to stay patient, maintain his position, and wait for the title opportunity he has earned.